Hello everyone, it's Natalie with Crochet by NatalieLucille. Today we're going to learn how to do a different technique with Tunisian crochet, and here's a sample that I made, and this is the honeycomb, and I'm hoping that you can see it, all the details that are in the honeycomb and how closely knit I should say, the I guess the stitches are. That is the back. And what I like about this pattern is if you have watched the video that I did before of the simple stitch of the regular Tunisian crochet, the ends have a tendency to curl, but on this one, not so much. And I love that. And if you'll notice with the Tunisian crochet, your hook is quite long because you keep all the loops on your hook. And so that's just one of the samples, and I liked it so much that I decided I'm going to make myself a scarf. So I started this last night, but you can see the detail, and I love the closely knit, I guess, weave of it, and it still even has a pretty back. So that is those two. And so today we are going to begin the pattern. I'm not sure if you can hear the boys outside. We are quarantined. If you've seen a few of my videos from before, we are in the midst of the coronavirus social distancing quarantine, but they are outside playing, so they are getting some sunshine. So what you want is your Tunisian hook. I am using a 15, which is a 10 millimeter, and not necessarily a bulkier yarn, but because my hook is a bit bigger, I have a little bit of a bulkier yarn. So make your slip knot, and on this one we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now for the honeycomb, for the pattern to work, it doesn't matter how many chains you do, because you're going to alternate in each row between the simple stitch, which I'll show you, and the purl stitch. So the way that you're going to start the honeycomb pattern is you're going to do a simple stitch all the way across. So if you look, I like to crochet in the back of my ridges of a chain of the foundation row. And so if we can get to it, in the second chain from the hook, if I can get it in there, you're going to, in the back ridge, your hook goes in, you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you're going to have 2 loops on your hook. Go into the next ridge, same thing. This is the simple stitch. And you're going to do this all the way across. And I try to loosely chain so it's easy, because sometimes on the foundation row, if you chain too tight, you're fighting with your yarn just to even get your hook to go in. You're working all the way across. And all the way to the last chain. So if you had your 10, you should have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So when you work backwards, it always remains the same. It's the same throughout. When you are going on the reverse, you always want to chain 1, and it keeps your rows straight as your pattern develops. Now you're going to yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over, draw through 2. And you're going to do that all the way across. Until the very end. Now, to start your honeycomb, we're going to be working in these front bars. So on your first stitch, you're going to skip this one. It's just kind of like holds its place. And working in this front bar, you're going to do a simple stitch. Just like that. In your second bar, we're going to work the purl stitch. So notice how the yarn is worked from behind. You're going to bring it forward. Your hook goes in the bar. You're going to bring your yarn back through here, yarn over, and draw through. That was your purl. Next, in this bar, simple stitch. So hook in, yarn over, draw up a loop. Next one, that'll go in this bar. Your yarn comes in front. Hook goes in the bar. Pull up your yarn, yarn over, draw through. Next bar, simple stitch. Next one. When I work fast, I don't drop my yarn, but just for video purposes, I just want to show you. Into the front bar. Yarn over, draw through. Simple stitch into this bar, yarn over, draw up a loop. Next one, here's your bar right here. Your yarn comes down in front, hook goes in, yarn comes back up, over, and draws through. Now you're going to come to your last bar, which is kind of hard to see, but this is it right here. Simple stitch. Now working your pattern backwards, same as before, you're going to chain 1. And then you are going to yarn over, draw through 2, all the way in reverse. And there is your work, and you're left with your bars. So in the last row, you started out with a simple stitch, because you can see it right here is the simple stitch. And I give myself kind of clues, visual clues to kind of help me. And so maybe it might help you as well. I'm not really sure. But your simple stitch, I can pull it a little bit. It's going to be a little bit longer than your purl, but I look at it as he's wearing a tie, she's wearing a scarf. So it kind of goes down, and this one looks like it is across. I don't know if you can see it in the lighter one, but on this one, my last stitch here, wearing a scarf, it kind of like crosses in front. So they're wearing a scarf. So my first stitch would be a simple stitch, and this one's a tie, goes straight up and down. So this one would be the purl. Just if that helps. I needed a visual to kind of help me, and that's just because some of the stitches can look a lot alike, and I needed to, this is kind of one of the things that helped me too when I was knitting. So your first stitch, because there's your tie, your man with the tie, your yarn is going to come in front because your first stitch is your purl. You go into that bar, yarn comes back up and through. Now, I'll show you how I do it because I don't drop my yarn because it's the way that I hold my yarn. Here's your scarf, purl. So you're going to do a simple stitch. But when I'm working it, I hold on to my yarn. I go behind, through, and just kind of bring it back around to make my purl. I'll show you that again in just a second because the next stitch is a simple. So I go behind. So it's kind of like I'm dropping it in front, but I don't like to let go of my yarn. I put it in. And so where it drops down in front, back around the back, and comes through. So I'll show you the other way as well. Simple stitch. So if you want to, it depends on how you hold your yarn. So remember, your yarn's coming down in front. You go into the bar. You pick up your yarn. It went in the front. And it's yarn over and draw through. So if you don't want to let go of your yarn, I'll show you one more time. Simple stitches in the next one. And so in the last stitch, here's your bar. You're going to, so basically what I do, because I don't like to let go of my yarn, I go from behind, I go through the bar, I bring that yarn, the working yarn, back in front, and then I yarn over. There you go. So you're able to work the honeycomb. So chain one, we're going to go backwards into reverse. Yarn over, draw through two, 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 yarn over, draw through two. Simple. And I'll also show you on the other examples as well. So I'll put this one down. And this is the one that I was working on last night. So maybe a lighter color might help as well. So on the first stitch, we're going to work a simple stitch because the one below here has its scarf. And see, here has the tie. So our first stitch is the simple stitch. And then we're going to purl. I'll show you how you can do it as well as dropping. See, here's the purl from below because there's the scarf. However you have to train your eye, that's what you do. Purl is the next one, so you would bring the yarn in front. Here is your bar. Insert. Simple stitch is the next one, right there. And then I'll show you how I hold my yarn as well. So I go in from behind, insert, and then I kind of bring it down in the front, wrap it around for a yarn over, and pull it through. I'll show you that again in just a second because the next stitch, see our little scarf man. Simple stitch. So through the back, because it's like it came down in the front. Yarn through. Your working yarn is going to come in the front. It's going to wrap around for a yarn over. It's going to pull it through. Yikes. My yarn, I got to turn it around here. There we go. So there's our scarf. So we want a simple stitch. Yarn over. Or down, well, it works in the back. Around to the front. And I'll work the next purl kind of slow again. So simple stitch, because there's our little scarf. Next one is a purl. So you're going to come in from behind. So you see, it's my working yarn, I'm keeping it in between my hands. So it comes in from behind. I'm going to put my hook in. That yarn's going to fall to the front and wrap around to the back for a yarn over. And then I'm going to draw it through. Simple, purl, simple, purl, simple, and the last one is a purl. Back around and through. So that's what it looks like with all the stitches. And so you can really see the details, and I'll show you on the smaller one as well. If you're working with a tinier needle or hook, and you're working through. So let's see, who's wearing a tie? Who is wearing a scarf? So if you look here, there's the scarf. So it was a purl. There's your simple, purl, simple. So you can see the bars almost straight up and down, and it's a little bit longer. So your first stitch is going to be your simple stitch. So in and up. So this is going to be a purl. I come in from behind. In, my yarn comes around to the front. Yarn over, draw through. Next one, see there's my little scarf. Simple stitch. And you're going to come in from behind for a purl. Just like that. Simple. And depending on how you hold your working yarn, you may find an easier way to do the purl stitch. That's just how it worked well for me, because some people hold their yarn like way up here. And so I guess it's all about personal preference, but just know that when you are working a purl stitch, the yarn will come in front. Hook goes into that bar, that yarn is going to come back around and yarn over. So personal preference for myself, I like to hold my yarn working at all times. Last bar, simple stitch, and then of course you will chain and then yarn over, draw through two, yarn over, draw through two, all the way back in reverse. So there you have it, a simple Tunisian. And I think what I may do with this, because for a scarf effect, I'm going to do probably either a dark border. I haven't decided if I want to do black or a white, and then possibly some tassels, because I thought this is the only yarn that I have that was my grandmothers of this kind. So I'm hoping I don't run out. And if I do, I will find another yarn that has the same texture and combine it somehow. So, but that is your honeycomb. Like I said, perfect for blankets. I mean, this would make a great baby blanket because I always talk about little fingers and toes. You don't want to get stuck in the yarn. A great scarf. So a blanket, whichever that you have that you're liking. So if you have any questions, get in contact, subscribe, put your notifications on so you know when the next video is coming on. And y'all have an amazing day. See you next time.